All right, folks, today we're diving into the world of college football, and not just any team. We're talking Notre Dame. Now, I know what you're thinking, John. Why are we talking about a bunch of college kids? Well, let me tell you, Notre Dame ain't your average team. They're an institution, a symbol of something bigger than themselves. But here's the thing, they're huge over here in the US of A, but not so much across the pond in Europe. So why is that? Why does a team from South Bend, Indiana, capture the hearts of millions of Americans while Europeans just don't seem to get it? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. We're going to break down the history, the tradition, the rivalries, the whole 9 yards to understand what makes Notre Dame football so darn special. Get ready, folks, because we're going deep in the trenches, and trust me, this ain't no Hail Mary. This is a touchdown of a story. You see, Notre Dame football came about when America was finding its feet. Sports were becoming a big deal, a way for folks to come together and say, this is us, this is what we believe in. And for a lot of Irish Catholic immigrants, Notre Dame was their team, their symbol of hope. They were the underdogs fighting for respect, just like the folks cheering them on. It was something special, something you just don't see in Europe, where it's all about those professional clubs. Over there, it's Manchester United, Real Madrid, those big names. But here, college sports, especially football, it's different. It's about the love of the game, the loyalty to your school, the pride of your community. And nobody embodied that spirit quite like Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame's a Catholic university, and that played a big part in their story. For Catholic communities across the country, the Fighting Irish weren't just a football team, they were a source of pride, a beacon of faith. They were proof that even in a country where they were often seen as outsiders, Catholics could achieve greatness. And let me tell you, that feeling of community, of shared identity, it's powerful. It's what makes sports more than just a game. It's about belonging, about connecting with something bigger than yourself. And Notre Dame, they became the team for millions of Irish Americans, a way to celebrate their heritage, their faith, their place in this country. Now, you can't talk about Notre Dame's fame without talking about television. Back in the day, they were one of the first teams to really understand the power of the boob tube. They struck a deal with NBC, and boom, every Saturday, millions of Americans from coast to coast were watching the Fighting Irish. This wasn't just about football, it was about building a brand, a national presence. And it worked like a charm. Notre Dame became a household name, even in places where folks couldn't tell a quarterback from a tight end. They were everywhere. And that, my friends, is how you build a legend. Chapter 4, Echoes of Glory. A legacy forged in gold and blue. Notre Dame's got history, and I ain't talking about ancient history. I'm talking about winning championships, legendary players, moments that'll make the hair on your arms stand up. 11 national titles, folks. That's more than most teams can even dream of. You got the Four Horsemen, Newt Rockne, Joe Montana, names that echo through the halls of football history. And then there's the traditions. The Play Like a Champion Today sign, Touchdown Jesus, the band, the fight song. It all adds up to something special, something that goes beyond the game itself. Chapter 5, the thrill of the fight, rivalries that transcend time. Now, every great team needs a rival, someone to push them, to test them, to make them bring their A game week in and week out. And Notre Dame, they got rivals like you wouldn't believe. USC, Michigan, Navy. These ain't just games, folks. These are wars. The kind of battles that get your blood pumping, your heart racing, the kind of games that make you want to run through a brick wall. These rivalries, they're a huge part of what makes college football so special, and they've helped make Notre Dame one of the most talked about teams in the country. Chapter 6. Across the pond, a different ball game altogether. Now, let's hop across the pond to Europe for a sec. Over there, football means something completely different. They call it football, but it's all about kicking the ball, not throwing it. Soccer, as we call it here, is king over there. Then you got rugby, cricket, all sorts of other sports. American football, it's just not their cup of tea. They got a few leagues, but nothing like the NFL or college football. And in universities, it's all about academics, not athletics. Sports are just a sideshow, not the main event. So it's no wonder Notre Dame doesn't resonate the same way over there. Chapter 7, Chalk and Blackboards versus helmets and shoulder pads. You see, college sports in America, it's a whole different animal. It's a business, a spectacle, a way of life. Millions of fans, billions of dollars, it's a big deal. But in Europe, universities, they're all about hitting the books, not hitting each other on the field. There's not that same passion, that same connection between the school and the team. So while American students are painting their faces and wearing their team colors, European students, they're more likely to be found in a library than a stadium. Chapter 8, Lost in Translation, the complexity of the American game. Now, let's be honest, folks. American football, it ain't the easiest game to understand. It's got more rules than a library, more formations than a marching band, and the action happens so fast you need a telescope to keep up. And that's part of the reason why it hasn't caught on as much in Europe. Soccer, rugby, those are simple games to grasp, but American football, it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes a love of the game to really appreciate it. And that's something that's hard to replicate across cultures. So there you have it, folks. Notre Dame, they're more than just a football team. They're a symbol of American history, culture, and spirit. From their humble beginnings to their legendary status, they've captured the hearts of millions, but they haven't quite conquered the world, at least not yet. Maybe someday those Europeans will learn to appreciate the beauty of a well-executed option play or the thrill of a last-second field goal, but until then, Notre Dame will remain a uniquely American treasure, a shining example of what makes college football so darn special. And let's be honest, folks, that's just the way we like it. Boom!